Hey everyone, Cody from Mactelecom Networks. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the second sensor that's out for SuperLink, and that sensor is the entry sensor. Now this came out a little while ago, but I finally got my hands on 4, so we're going to get them installed and then see what we could do with them. We're also going to compare it to the older UP-Sense, which uses Bluetooth, whereas the entry sensor uses the new SuperLink protocol. So let's go take a look and see the differences between the two sensors. And this is the SuperLink Entry Sensor. We could get it open by pulling the tab on the back of the box. Once we're done that, we have a QR code. This is going to be our installation guide, and we could open up the little box. And we have this little pull tab, so I'm just going to pull up. So that's going to slide out everything that's on the inside of the box, and right on the front we have this thing that kind of looks like a guitar pick, but that's to get our battery out. So we'll look at that in a little bit. Underneath the thing that looks like a guitar pick, we have our screws and we also have our anchors. If we're going to be putting this into some sort of drywall for an open and close, maybe to a window, and then we could push up and then we have our entry sensor. On the entry sensor, it shows you how close you need to have both sides so that it could detect the open and close. And this is currently wrapped in plastic, so we need to take that off. It also has this adhesive on the back. We would just pull that down and it would be a sticky pad, so you don't need to put a hole in your wall. And this is the other side, which would be the magnet. So if we click them together, you could see that they're completely stuck and then we could take them off. It also has an adhesive on the back, so we could stick it on the side of the wall or beside the door. That's it that comes in the box. The SuperLink Entry Sensor comes in at $39, and it does use that proprietary protocol, which is the SuperLink. So you would have to have a SuperLink gateway to be able to use one of these. Now to get these open, it's relatively easy. This one only has a magnet inside of it, but we could pull this pull tab down and we see that it has a little slot on the top. We grab this guitar pick looking thing and then we place it in and then we just click up. So we could open up the lid and you could see the magnet that's inside of there. Now you probably won't be taking out your magnet too much, but you may have to change your battery, and these are supposed to be up to 6-year batteries. Obviously they haven't been out for 6 years, so I can't tell you the battery life on them. But the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull this tab to activate the battery. On the bottom, you can see that there's a white light on as this needs to be adopted. And the SuperLink sensors, they all work with UniFi Protect. But first, let's take a look at what battery is inside the SuperLink Entry Sensor. So I'm just going to grab the guitar pick looking thing. We're going to put it in the slot and then we're just going to push up. Now with that off, you could see what battery is inside. It's a Panasonic CR123A industrial lithium battery. So if you ever need to replace that, you could buy one of these batteries, probably from Amazon or any local store. And the only thing that's holding this back faceplate on are these two little clips. So we need to make sure that they're clipped down properly. So I'm going to put the shield back on and then we're just going to press down. And you can see now that's snug and it's not going to come off. Let's now take a look at the differences between the SuperLink Entry Sensor and the all-in-one sensor. So you can tell that they're pretty much the same size. The SuperLink Entry Sensor is more of this square, whereas the all-in-one has more of these rounded edges. The SuperLink Entry Sensor, it could only do open and close for doors and windows, whereas the all-in-one sensor, it could do a lot more. So I'm just going to list the things that it can do. So it could do a motion sensor, it could be magnetic entry for open and close, accelerometer for garage door open and close. It also has a temperature sensor in it. We have humidity, ambient light sensor, alarm sensor, and we have a water sensor. The water sensor is only in the 3-pack of these, and for one single one of the all-in-one, it comes to $59 USD, whereas this one is $39 USD. The all-in-one sensor, it operates off of Bluetooth, so you would have to have an older access point that has Bluetooth to be able to adopt this within UniFi Protect, or you could get the SuperLink Gateway. The SuperLink Gateway will hold up to 7 of these UP-Sense, whereas it will hold up to 96 SuperLink devices, and this could go a range of up to 2 kilometers if you have a line of sight. For installation, it's pretty straightforward. We first want to make sure that the surface that we're putting the entry sensor on is clean, so I just grabbed a towel and I cleaned it off. On both parts of the sensor, there is this gray little dot, and we want to match that up. We need to take the peel off of the adhesive and then stick it to the door. We then grab the magnet and stick it on the side of the door, and it needs to be within 5 to 30 millimeters apart. The entry sensor is now installed on my front door, and we could see it right at the top. It says USL entry. So let's click to adopt. It says one new device is adopting, and we could see it down below. I already do have one USL entry that is for my garage door, and you can see it up here. The USL entry for the front door has now been adopted, and hovering over the signal, it tells us the signal quality is at 80%. My SuperLink gateway is one floor below. Then we have the signal to noise ratio, which is 9 dB, and then we have our RSSI, which is 70 dBm. Right now, the battery isn't showing up beside it, but if we look at my garage door, we could see the battery percentage for that one. So let's click on my front door USL entry. This is the overview for the entry sensor. It says USL entry and it's connected to SuperLink US. That's because I haven't given that SuperLink a name yet. We could see that the state is currently closed. If I opened up my door, it would show that it was open. And we could also see the sensor manager. Now it shows us our status, our connection, the model, the device version, the MAC address, and the uptime, which it's only been up for a couple of minutes. And then we have our different alarms, which we're going to end up creating our own alarms. We also have statistics, which there's nothing there yet. And then we have our settings. So we could give it a name. I'm going to call it front door. And then we could pair it with a camera. So if we have a camera close to the sensor, we could do that. So I'm going to hit the drop down menu and I'm going to do it to my doorbell light. We could create a tag for this and we could turn the status light on or off. And if we had multiple different SuperLink gateways, we could click the drop down menu and then we could select the gateway that we want it to pair with. And we could also lock it to that SuperLink gateway. Then we could restart it and we could completely remove it. The SuperLink sensors, they operate in a low power mode and that gives us longer battery life. So if I click on my garage door and we go to the settings wheel and I want to pair it with the camera, we'll pair it with my camera from the garage and then I press apply changes. It says devices in sleep mode. Changes will apply when it reconnects, or you could wake it up manually. You'd wake it up manually by clicking this button on the SuperLink entry and then it will instantly pair that camera. If you didn't write down the MAC addresses or the names or don't know which sensor is what, you could also press this and it will highlight it within UniFi Protect. To show you how the highlighting works, I have another USL entry that I've adopted within UniFi Protect application, and I'm going to click on the bottom button. So you can see right here that it is glowing around that sensor, which makes it really easy to recognize. So you could have somebody walking around the building or the house that you're in, and then you could label them all very easily. Let's now take a look at Alarm Manager, and they do have some alarm profiles. We're not going to go into that right now until we have the full suite of SuperLink devices, but we're just going to create an alarm. So under this alarm, we're going to select our sensors, and we could do low battery, open detect, close detect. All I'm going to do is the open detected. I'm going to give it a name of front door open. And then we're going to include the sensors that we want. And the only sensor that I want in this is the new sensor, which is called front door. The one above is the UP Sense, which I've taken down. So we'll click on the front door and then we'll slide over. And this is the action that we're going to want to do with it. So we have notify, we have a webhook, we have unlock, sound, light, and PTZ. What we're going to do, we're going to click on our sound. At my front door, I have the PoE chime and I also have the UP siren PoE. We're going to first do the chime. So I'm going to select the chime and then we have these different audio files. So you could select a custom file if you want, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go over to soundbuttonsworld.com. The sound that I'm going to choose is this doorbell one, and I'll let you listen to it, what it sounds like. So that doorbell would be perfect maybe for a convenience store or something like that, so you know that your door is being open. So I'm just going to download that sound. Now going back within Alarm Manager, we have our different audio files, but how do we get those audio files or the custom doorbell to show up where I did? I'm just going to duplicate this tab. I'm going to click on my settings wheel, and under general, we could see we have our audio files, and I'm going to click manage. Under here, we're going to upload that new doorbell sound. Under the audio file, we have the doorbell protect. So that sound is going to go off every time we open up the door, and it's going to play over that PoE chime. Now, the next alarm I'm going to make is going to be called open door siren. We're going to select the sensor and then we're going to do open detected. And I'm going to scroll down again and we're going to select that front door. Scrolling over to our action, we're going to go to sound again, but then we're going to select siren. Below that, it will say play on, and we only could do that on the UP siren PoE. So I'm going to click on that. The duration will be for 5 seconds, and we're going to create that alarm. I'm going to go over to my devices, and then I'm going to go down to the siren because I want to turn the sound down. I have cats here, and I don't want it to go off too loud. So right now, it's at 10%, and I think that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to disable one of these alarms and we're going to go downstairs and we're going to test it out. I'm at my front door. We could see we have the entry sensor, we have the PoE chime, and then we have the PoE siren. I disabled the siren in Alarm Manager, so it should only play over the PoE chime. Let's give it a test. So I'm going to open up the door. And you could hear that the doorbell sound went off, and that's what I uploaded within UniFi Protect. Now I'm going to disable that alarm and we're going to put the siren on. The siren is now on within Alarm Manager and the PoE chime is disabled. So let's open it up. It may be a little bit loud. And you could see that that went off once I opened up my door, and I just shut my door and it went off pretty much instantly. And that's going to be my video on the SuperLink sensor. I think it's a pretty good device. It does what it says. It does door opening or window opening and closing. And then we could set up a bunch of different alarms within Alarm Manager. I'm really looking forward to where SuperLink is going to go, and I can't wait to get the rest of the products. The entry sensor is a little bit big. I wish it was a bit smaller, but it doesn't really matter to me. I have the all-in-one sensors around the house, and it's pretty much the same size. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about the SuperLink Entry Sensor. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right, thanks.